Welcome to the Killer Author Club. 3 best-selling authors talking about killing, of the fictional kind, with the best thriller and suspense authors in the business. Killer conversations, killer cocktails, and killer guests, with your hosts, Kimberly Bell, Heather Gutenkopf, and Kara Ruda. This is the Killer Author Club.
Hello, and welcome to the Killer Author Club, your favorite haunt for all things murder, mystery, and mayhem. We are so excited to have killer extraordinaire Danielle Girard here in the Killer Author Club hot seat to talk all things pinky swear. Will she survive? Will we? We have tons of questions and heaps of killer fun planned, so buckle up and get ready to kill the lights. I'm Killer Heather Gutenkopf.
Who do we have here?
I'm Killer Danielle Girard with my mic on even.
And I'm Killer Kimberly Bell. Killer Kara's still away on her book tour adventure for We Were Never Friends, but she'll be back with us next time.
And before we dive into Danielle's fabulous book, a couple of quick PSAs. Tonight's show will be available this Friday as a podcast with bonus content just for listeners. Find the links at killerauthorclub.com. And while you're there, sign up for our newsletter so you're the first to hear all our killer breaking news. Also, don't miss this Thursday's Killer Takeovers. Jocelyn Jackson will be hanging out with you all day on Instagram to spill the tea about missing sister. And if that's not exciting enough, Robin Harding will be taking over the Facebook group to answer all your burning questions about strangers in the villa. And yes, there will be giveaways. And now, Kimberly, will you please introduce our killer guest?
I would love to. Danielle Girard is the USA Today and Amazon #1 best-selling author of 16 novels, including the Annabelle Schwartzman series, Chasing Darkness, and the Rookie Club series. Her books have won the Barry Award, the Romantic Times Reviewer's Choice Award, and Whiteout was in the top 100 best-selling ebooks of 2020. In addition, 2 of her titles have been optioned for screen. Danielle is also the creator and host of the Killer Women podcast, where she interviews the women who write today's best crime fiction. A graduate of Cornell University, Danielle received her MFA in creative writing at Queen's University of Charlotte, North Carolina. When she's not traveling, Danielle lives in the mountains of Montana. Now, Danielle, we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course. Would you please give us like a little bit about what Pinky Swear is about?
I would love to. Pinky Swear is about a woman named Lexi McNeil. She married an older man and happily raised his 2 children. And now she's in her mid-30s at that point where she has to decide whether she wants children of her own. And she does. And she decides she does. And when she tries to get pregnant, she's experiences idiopathic infertility. That just means there's no good medical reason she can't get pregnant. At the same time, one of her best friends from high school comes back into her life, leaving an abusive marriage. And Lexi takes her in, and the 2 become close again as though no time had passed. And Mara offers to be Lexi's surrogate. And it seems like the absolute perfect solution until 4 days before the baby is due and Mara disappears.
Oh my gosh, so good. You guys get chatty and drop your questions for our killer guest in the comments. But first, Heather, what are we drinking?
Oh, yes. Tonight's drink is the Pinky Promise cocktail. So, Danielle, can you please tell us why you've chosen this as your drink tonight?
Well, I am a big fan of grapefruit, and it's pink, which seems so perfect for, even though pinky isn't about the color pink, everything it makes me think of is pink. So you've got a pink cocktail with a little bit of a, grapefruit vodka splash. You can put a little sparkling water in there. And if you're doing a mocktail, you can just leave the vodka out, and it's lovely, just sparkling water and grapefruit.
Delicious.
So good. So good.
All right, you guys, we created the Killer Author Club so readers could get up close and personal with their favorite thriller writers. Our upcoming lineup is stacked with amazing killers. We've got Will Dean coming up, Jillian McAllister, Deborah Goodrich Royce, Sally Hepworth, and so many more. For dates, times, past episodes, and our Killer 2026 lineup, surf to killerauthorclub.com. But tonight, it's all about Pinky Swear. Here's what some of Danielle's early reviews had to say about the book. Killer Geneva Rose, we know Geneva, #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Perfect Divorce, says, visceral, tense, and shocking, Pinky Swear is an absolute must read. And there's this from Alex Finley, also a Killer alum, best-selling author of Parents Weekend, heartfelt, twisty, and even shocking. Pinky Swear is a triumph. Make an oath to pick up this stunning novel. And here's what I wrote about the book. Girard delivers a daring, twist-laden plot that barrels towards an electric, heart-stopping climax with chilling precision, a white-knuckle tale of friendship, betrayal, and the true meaning of family. So, Danielle, we know you are a devious and daring killer, and now we want to know your answer to the killer question. When do you kill?
Well, I kill whenever it suits me, which is, when someone crosses my path in the wrong way. There's some people out there who might be getting it.
I love it. Perfect answer. Okay, so you already talked about the nightmare scenario that Pinky Swear is kind of built on, a surrogate vanishing only days before the baby is due. So, and I saw this fly by over here too. Let's see if I can pull it up. Where did you come up with this idea? Like, did you read something? Did you hear something? Like, where did this come from?
There's a scene in the book, which you guys know what scene I mean, that came to my mind during the pandemic, maybe because we were all in such close quarters, but I just had that scene for 3 years and trying to figure out how to use it. And this whole book sort of was me working towards that scene.
Are we talking about the scene towards the end?
Yes.
The big scene? Okay.
Big
Got
scene.
it. Yeah.
There's a big scene. Yeah. And I just could not get rid of that scene. I wrote 2 books in the, while I was still thinking about that scene and then wrote Pinky Swear.
So needed to wait for the right story at the right time.
Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny how that happens, right?
It is. You got to be patient, which is hard. I'm so not a patient person, but in this case, maybe it worked. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I think so. So Pinky Swear. So it's a childhood promise, right? Absolute trust between friends.
Yeah.
How does that promise evolve in this story? And at what point does trust become the most dangerous thing in the room?
Well, you guys know, so I've had this story emerged also at a time when I had my own sort of very personal betrayal. I've been very candid about it on social media. My ex-husband had a 2.5-year affair with his massage therapist, which is the next book, of course. But at that point, I started to think about really how well do we know anyone, right? And it seemed to me that, of course, a marriage is an obvious example, but the other one is these people that are as close to you as sisters. And I think a lot of us have those friendships that we developed at that really pivotal time in our lives. And that's sort of where I started to sort of design this idea of these three girls who didn't have, super close relationships with their parents. So they weren't going to talk to them about things. So they really depended on each other, but they were children, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't make the best decisions. And that's sort of where the idea of the pinky promise is. And we didn't pinky promise. I don't know if you guys, we didn't actually do the sort of hooked fingers, but we used to say, I swear, and so that sort of, across my heart. That's sort of where the notion, the title idea sort of came from.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you told me in one of our conversations when we were talking about this book that you wrote first the story and then you went back, because there are blurbs or excerpts from like basically a book that they wrote in, right?
Yeah, they have like a shared notebook. It's like and they have there's all these rules for the notebook, which I didn't do, but I've seen around and had heard of people doing, and they basically wrote the year, the label of like whatever the science class was, like chemistry or physics, because then no parents didn't look at it and teachers didn't take it from them, and they would move it around from one of them, there were three of them, from one to the other, and write sort of who was cute and who was dating who and what was happening, and it was a sort of, and there were rules. You weren't allowed to write out each other outside that notebook, and you weren't allowed to remove pages, which of course they did, and the first time I wrote the first draft, it did not have, there's like 7 or 8 of those scenes. And I wrote them to kind of, I felt like without those past scenes, you didn't see just how close the 3 girls were. And so you didn't understand why Lexi would trust Mara the way she did. But they had gone through some very, very, big, hard stuff together. And that does forge those kinds of bonds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. And I love how that like happens when you're writing a book, right? Because you know it in your head, but that's what early readers are so good at, saying, well, I kind of missed that, but it's all there in your head. You just need to get it onto paper, right?
And it helps when somebody says, this is the thing that you need this. And then you can figure out how to do it structurally and whose point of view to do it in. But yeah, I couldn't write a book without a lot of really smart people reading it and being like, this doesn't work, otherwise I think I would, who knows what it would show up as.
Right.
One of the quotes in the book that really hit me, you wrote, motherhood is an impossible job. Parenthood in general, but especially motherhood. No matter how hard you try, you will fail your child. And the desire to protect them trumps anything else. Tell us more about that. I felt
I feel that so strongly. I have 2 kids, and I look back now, they're 26 and 24. And so now you look back and think, oh, I probably should have not coddled so much or been, or not ever mentioned, never talked about what you eat, or there's all these things you do without really thinking about it. And we're also growing up with those kids. I mean, my daughter was born when I was 29. I was basically a child myself. And you don't know, you've never done it before. I do feel like, I'm not saying that the failure part is something we can even change, but I do feel like, of course, we fall short in ways, and you're a different parent with each kid.
Yep.
And it's just
and you're dealing with your own stuff.
And that's,
like your own childhood wounds and all the other things.
Oh, and you are recreating, the dynamic. I mean, it is so interesting. And I think the pendulum was on the far side. My mother, God bless her, I hope she's not listening, is very stoic. It was very much like, this is, you just hold it together. You do not express any emotions. You wear lipstick when you go jogging. I mean, she was very it was very specific. And I was on the other side of it. I express it all. I'm going to protect you. So it just, and then that's too far on the other side. And then your kids are like, why do I need to be protected? Am I not doing something right? And so you've created you created insecurity where you, of course, didn't intend to. So, thankless.
We've all experienced that. And I think of a generation, like our folks, my folks, Great Depression era. It's just different. It's just a different way to grow up, different scenarios. And
I mean, it's the best job too, right? Like, obviously.
Yeah. And my mother always made the joke about me and my brother, and now I make it about my kids. Like, if I had known they would turn out so great, I would have worried a lot less.
So true. so true. I worried all the time. And I think sometimes they look at me like, what were you so worried about? And I'm like, you wait.
Just wait.
You wait.
You said that, Kimberly, because I'm the youngest of 6, and my parents were super strict, and it wasn't until I was an adult when I found out how wild my mom was. And I used to tell her, Mom, if I would have known how much fun you used to have, I would have been a lot more adventurous in high school.
Yeah, she's smart to have kept that a secret.
I love that.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love that.
Hey, so let's talk about like the surrogacy as a plot device too. And like, did you do a ton of research into that? Did you find any crazy wild stories? Like,
I did not find any crazy wild stories, but I did a fair amount of research to know what normally happens in a surrogacy situation. Obviously, this isn't an official surrogacy situation, so there's no agency, there's no contract, which is how it works, for the story. But interestingly, my brother and his husband just had their first baby via surrogate, and Eddie was born in July. And I started writing this long before those guys were doing a surrogate. But I had this moment where I was like, you cannot read this book until your baby is born and with you, because this is not going to be helpful for whatever terror you guys have. So I knew enough, just like I knew enough about infertility. I didn't experience that stuff myself, but I knew enough. And I had, I have friends who've used surrogates. I have friends who've dealt with infertility. And I feel like as particularly as women, I want this stuff out there. I want to talk about it. I feel like there's a lot of shame. Lexi feels a lot of shame that she can't get pregnant, even though, of course, that's way beyond her control. And I think we do each other no service by keeping that stuff a secret.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So many of your thrillers, there's heroes, villains, but in Pinky Swear, did you those moral lines are blurred a little bit, because is Mara a villain? Do we, we don't know through much of the story what's going on with her and where she's gone. Tell us more about that, how you plant that ambiguity.
Well, I think part of this life lesson I've learned from my own experience is that the line is blurred, right? I mean, there's villains, the serial killer, he or she is a villain for sure. But most of us are sort of, we're doing the best we can. We make bad decisions. Some of us make worse decisions than others, obviously. And I do think, like, I think that's the question I want the reader to ask is, even at the end, how do you feel? Like, what's Mara's responsibility in this? Is she bad? Is she good? Do we understand, the decisions she made and why she made them? And Lexi too. I mean, Lexi becomes a little obsessed with having a child. And so does she push Mara into surrogacy? Is she responsible somewhat for what happens? So I think, I like those blurred lines. I think it's interesting and I hope readers will walk away and think about it. I think sometimes we think more about books where it's not as black and white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I just saw a question fly by and now I can't. Somebody's birthday. Oh, wait, here. Dana Carlisle. She's spending her birthday with us.
Dana. Thank you for joining us.
And then Renee pointed out, and I can't see to find that one. I'll keep. Oh, wait, here. Renee points out that we have the three of us have the same color paint. She wonders if we're together.
Funny.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm in a Hilton Garden Inn, which is a little sponsorship right there.
The Hilton beige
in Massachusetts. So I am not. I would much prefer to be wherever these. Actually, we all want to be where Kim is. Because Kim is in the warmth, and we're all in the. Yeah. I suspect it's cold where Heather is too.
I'm in the Caribbean. Is it cold? Oh, sorry.
Very observant.
I know, right?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it kind of just all flows very perfectly.
Yeah, it does. I know.
Yeah, it's like we planned it. So when somebody disappears in real life, the first 48 hours, as we know from watching all of our TV shows, are critical. Did you do like any research into that? Like how that works? Like how, I mean...
Well, it's funny. I did talk to the police my local police about what they would do in this instance. And because she's not gone that long and she's an adult, they don't, they basically don't do anything in the beginning. There's no signs of disturbance other than, it looks like she left willingly, which I think is the hardest part for Lexi to believe, that she would have left willingly with the baby. So, but yeah, the police, they're not going to get involved from the get-go. And I think Lexi's already on the move before the police would realistically get involved.
Yeah. And somebody asked, I know I can't find it back in the comments, but somebody had asked earlier, like, if it's a surrogate who's leaving with officially your baby, is that kidnapping?
Yeah, it would be kidnapping. Absolutely. If she was to be arrested and prosecuted, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Wow.
So interesting. And, I love a thriller with a ticking clock. And this one definitely is the ticking clock. So did you plot this all out? Are you a plotter, a pantser? How do you approach your
I wish I was a plotter. It seems so smart. I've never successfully plotted a book, so I'm definitely a pantser. But I did know that it was all going to happen in a very short time frame, and I did know that the due date would be sort of although of course, like the funny thing about a baby due date, right, is they're not necessarily born. So as far as Lexi knows, that baby could be born, an hour after Mara walks out the door. So that's a sort of different level of terror too, is Mara even still with the baby? And once the baby's born, it's much harder to locate, right?
Yeah.
So
Terrifying.
totally terrifying. I know.
All right. So Renee asks another question. Did you grow up in Montana?
I did not, Renee. I grew up outside outside San Francisco, but I've been in Montana about 25 years.
So beautiful there.
I know your pictures are gorgeous. Follow
Yeah.
Danielle on Instagram. She'll occasionally post some beautiful.
It's really beautiful. Yeah, it's been a wonderful place to live. It's really quiet. It's very conducive to the work, and then I get to leave once in a while and go to a city, which I also really appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. So you are prolific in interviewing other authors. So you have Killer Women. Can you tell us a little bit about Killer Women and what it's like to talk to fellow writers and what that
I would love that. And I have some killer women here right with me. So I only interview female suspense authors. That's the way I kind of cut down the massive pack of authors. And I started it during the pandemic, which is probably about when you guys started. Is that when you guys started too?
Yes. Yeah.
I think because there were no conferences and I was going crazy in Montana, and not a lot of thriller writers, no thriller writers actually. And no thriller writers in my area, I should say. And I just wanted to have those conversations that I would be having at conferences. So I invited some friends to come on. I think, Kim, you were number 2.
I was? Oh,
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
think you were I think it was Hannah Morrissey and then you. And so I just got to have these incredible conversations. I always feel like I learn a lot, and the episodes always come out sort of the week of pub date. So there's an opportunity to discover a new author and a new book right at the beginning, which is fun. So I've loved it. I think I'm on 212 or something crazy. I know. I know. It's gotten the first year I did 63, and that was insane because I read the whole.
That's more than one a week. Oh my gosh.
Insane.
Yeah. I haven't counted ours. Have you, Heather? What episode are we on? We used to count them, but I'm sure
I bet you're up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we started in, what was it,
22?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I bet you guys are. I bet you're getting close.
I think so too.
We'll have to count those.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yours aren't numbered. Mine, that makes it easy. Mine are numbered, so that therefore I don't have to count, which would never happen.
That's what spreadsheets are for.
Exactly.
Oh, so good. So good. Oh my goodness, we could talk all night. We have, tons more questions, but Killer Danielle is giving away 3 copies of Pinky Swear. So to lucky US viewers, it doesn't matter where you're watching. We scour the comments everywhere we stream. And so, but make sure you shout out where you're from and answer this question. Have you ever made a Pinky Swear promise? If yes, with whom? So gosh, what kind of question is that? No right or wrong answer. So have you ever made?
Right.
I love that.
Those are the best questions.
And
Okay.
we'll pick some winners.
Amazing. All right. So the Killers are big fans of independent booksellers, as you know, and we want to send them all the support and love. Danielle has chosen Country Bookshelf in Bozeman, Montana to highlight tonight. Danielle, tell us why you love Country Bookshelf so much.
Well, Country Bookshelf is our, we're not a very big spot, so it's our beautiful independent store. During the pandemic, you could order books at Country Bookshelf and they would deliver them to your door. in a little paper bag, and I was almost like kind of sad the pandemic was over in that one way, because I loved that same day delivery on whatever books you wanted to buy. And they are wonderful at choosing stories, and the booksellers are always so, fabulous. I have to say, between them and the library, it's a little slice of heaven.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, we just dropped the link in the comments so you can order Pinky Swear along with any of the other books on your wish list.
And obviously, the Killers, we love to read, and we love it when you share what you're reading in our Facebook group. So post pictures, write reviews, ask for recommendations, and give yours. But tonight, though, we really want to know, Danielle, what have you been reading lately?
Well, I just recently finished Frederick Bachman's My Friends. I don't know. I'm such a fan of his. And I'm listening to this now. I'm going through the Beartown series about hockey. But I'm also reading for Killer Women, Jane Harper's new book.
Oh, I'm going to be interviewing her in Atlanta. So I have it on my next.
I'm about a third of the way through. Last one out, it's called. She's incredible. So that is really, really fun. And I have a huge stack. I've got Heather's new book on my Kindle that's got to get read, and I finished Kim's not that long ago. Kara's is on my Kindle. So anyway, it's a dangerous business to be in when you have so many talented friends.
That's right. So many good books, right?
So many good books.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of good books, we have 2 fabulous new releases we wanted to celebrate tonight. First, we have She Thought She Was Safe by Terry Parlato, an immersive modern Gothic in which a young woman is reunited with the famous father she never knew at a secluded lakeside community hiding nightmarish secrets. We also have Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. This one combines psychological and supernatural horror with a touch of humor in a slasher story where a teen prank goes very wrong and all hell breaks loose in a small town.
I love those.
Right? Terry is giving away 2 copies of She Thought She Was Safe, and Stephen 5 copies of Night of the Mannequins, all to U.S. viewers. If you want in, tell us so in the comments, and make sure to shout out where you're from. And because we're all about shamelessly plugging our own murdery fun, don't miss the Killer's latest reads.
Yes, Kara's got We Were Never Friends, a sorority reunion that takes a very, very dark turn.
And speaking of deadly parties, Heather's serving up the perfect hosts, an over-the-top gender reveal party that explodes in more ways than one.
And finally, speaking of deadly parties, Kimberly's taking you on a deadly European getaway in The Expat Affair, 2 Americans, the glittering diamond trade, in danger in Amsterdam. And we want to say a big killer thanks to Book Reporter for sharing the murdery love. Stay up to date on bookish news and events at bookreporter.com. And guess what, Danielle? We've got great news for you. Yes. You have survived the Killer Author Club.
Whew.
I love it.
Where readers can find you.
Instagram, I'm at Danielle Girard Books. And on Facebook, I'm author Danielle Girard, and then my website is daniellegirard.com.
Great.
Amazing.
Yes. Well,
everybody.
So much. Yes.
Yeah. Go find her. Follow her. So you guys, that's a wrap on tonight's episode. Thanks for hanging out with us. And do not forget, we have Jocelyn Jackson taking over our Instagram feed this Thursday, while Robin Harding will be over on our Facebook group. Both of them have tons of fun and giveaways planned. So set your alarm and tune in for that. Flip back and forth all day. We will be back in 2 weeks on March 17th with Will Dean talking all things adrift. Until then, you can find us wasting way too much time on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our channel there. For links, upcoming schedule, past episodes, and merch, head to killerauthorclub.com. Thanks for being part of the club.
Thanks. So fun.
That does it for tonight's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to catch our next show live, we're every other Tuesday night on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For times, upcoming schedule, and to catch up on past episodes, visit us at killerauthorclub.com. Happy reading. Now get on out there and kill that TBR.